A very warm welcome. Selamat datang ke Pulau Penang. First, I would like to welcome our foreign guests who have traveled from afar to this wonderful island state of Penang. Of course, I'm a bit biased, but as you will discover later, it is indeed a wonderful place because of the warm hospitality that Penang has been famous for the last 225 years. I also like to apologize for asking you all to rise so early to start off this conference. We do not normally start early, but I was telling Ms. Lu Lilian, the General Manager of Invest Penang, who I'm sure has been a very graceful hostess to everyone here, that let's start off early so that we can finish early and allow you to enjoy and see as well as eat more in Penang. Rise and shine. I'm sure you will all shine with your inputs and thoughts this morning. We have a whole list of renowned speakers from all over the region. Dr. Sayuri Shire from the Bank of Japan, former Thai Finance Minister Dr. Chalongkok Suzakam, and of course the former Singapore Foreign Minister George Yeo. We are deeply honored to host all of them in Penang. In addition to our esteemed foreign guests, we have also brought together our own global talents from Penang. We welcome back Malaysia's most famous fund manager, Mr. Chia Ching Hai from Hong Kong. Industrialist Dato' P.Y. Lai from China. Economist Professor Tan Kong Yam from Singapore. And of course, our own academic and author Dr. Wee Ki Weng, also from Singapore. And to complement this lineup of overseas-based talents, we have also featured our local Malaysia renowned speakers, such as the CEO of MIDA, Dr. Noharuddin Nordin, Professor Tam Soo Yen of UKM, and of course various MPs and our own Penang local talents. It is my hope that this inaugural Penang Economic Conference, having put together such a plethora of prominent and talented individuals, will be able to discuss, debate and deliberate the topic of catching the opportunities from accelerated integration of East Asia. I'm sure the Executive Director of Penang Institute, Professor Dr. Wu Weng Tai, himself a world-renowned economist, will be much more qualified to speak on this topic. And in that regard, I would like to share our thoughts on how Penang has positioned itself in terms of catching the opportunities from the integration of East Asia. At the moment, East Asia appears to have everything going for it. The recent financial crisis, while certainly leaving its mark, has not inflicted too much damage on the East Asian economies, thanks largely to China's growth and strong intra-regional trade. Presently, foreign exchange reserves remain high. Sovereign wealth funds are healthy. We have a relatively high savings rate, and as a whole remain a net creditor to the rest of the world. We also have a favorable demography. The World Bank has projected the region to be amongst the fastest growing regions in the coming decades, whilst the OECD has forecasted that the size of the Asia-Pacific middle class will grow sixfold and make up 59% of global spending by the year 2030. In terms of economic output, Asia as a whole will soon overtake Europe and match the United States. Already China is estimated to have the second largest middle class population in the world. By 2015, 200 million Chinese will have an annual income exceeding $10,000. Coupled with the emerging economies of Southeast Asia, I believe there's no doubt that East Asia is the next economic powerhouse. This has caused even some Western countries, blighted by years of austerity, to copy the so-called state capitalism model of China by adopting interventionist command-type measures, especially monetary policies of central banks. This has also muted earlier calls for China to loosen up and adopt free markets, respect for the rule of law and property rights, free up competitive measures, and act against corruption and severe environmental pollution. Nevertheless, challenges abound. In recent months, there appears to be a sudden change in tone on the part of investors towards emerging markets. According to data compiled by Bloomberg, more than $19 billion of investment capital have taken flight in emerging markets. This has been largely attributed to the change in Federal Reserve policy and the slowing down of the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China economies. In particular, China, under its new leadership, appears to be signaling greater tolerance of slower economic expansion to reduce environmental degradation. At the same time, there is a realization that capital inflow fueled by loose monetary policies in the United States and Japan can never be sustainable in the long run. In this context, whilst East Asian countries have been attempting to remodel their economies away from their traditional roles as exporters of fodder to Western consumerism, the recent slowdown in investments clearly demonstrates that our markets have not really decoupled from the West despite the emergence of China. Having said that, there are advantages of being part of the globalized supply chain. Integration will present us greater opportunities. And with the ASEAN Economic Community set to come into being from the end of 2015, it is important that we position ourselves to capitalize on the possibilities of a single market and production base. While integration with the global and regional economy can bring much benefits, we must also bear in mind that it will also not only subject us to external forces, but also mean that we have to now compete not just internally amongst ourselves, but also with the world. As a result, we must ensure that our economic models are versatile, diversified, and dynamic. In Malaysia's case, while the World Bank pointed out recently that growth is set to increase by 5.1% in 2013 and 2014, they also stressed the need to speed up structural reforms. This is to counter over-reliance on the export of commodities such as crude oil, natural gas, rubber and palm oil, whose prices have been declining. According to the World Bank, to reach our goal of becoming a high-income nation, Malaysia will need to continue building skills and institutions that will support further diversification towards higher productive investments through improvements in human capital. This is made more critical by the tapering of quantitative easing by the United States, which will undoubtedly impact capital allocation across the region. Therefore, what we need is good governance and sound economic policies to position ourselves at the forefront in attracting required financial and human capital. For this reason, the Penang government has crafted the Penang Paradigm, a 10-year development blueprint which makes economic vibrancy, livability and sustainability as well as social development and inclusion, as crucial objectives in realizing Penang's aspiration of becoming an international and intelligent city. In summary, the Penang paradigm aims to achieve these goals by focusing on 5 key thrusts. 1. Combating poverty and socio-economic inequality. Secondly, ensuring environmental sustainability. Thirdly, attracting, training, retraining and retaining human talent. Fourthly, democratic empowerment. And of course, finally, implementing good governance. We must recognize that poverty is a mortal disease in any economy. Economic growth alone will not translate into prosperity if large segments of the people remain poor. At the same time, it is also not enough for only a certain segment to become rich. Socio-economic inequality is now widely believed to be an impediment to economic growth. This is because inequality is actually symptomatic of a fundamental fracture. When the inequality gap is wide, it means that large segments of the population will lack access to basic needs such as education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. And when such access is impeded, it will become virtually impossible for a country to achieve sustained economic growth. Hence, in Penang, we have formulated the Equitable Economic Agenda. Through this program, we have ensured that all our surpluses, budget surpluses every year, are put to good use. In the last 5 years, we have become the first state in Malaysia to institutionalize annual financial assistance programs for the poor and marginalized communities such as senior citizens, the disabled, students, as well as single mothers. In 2009, Penang became the first state in Malaysia to eradicate hardcore poverty. This year, Penang will become the first state in Malaysia to eradicate poverty altogether. Penang will be poverty-free by ensuring a minimum household income of 770 ringgit a month, which is higher than the national poverty line indicator of 763 ringgit a month. Any household with less than 770 ringgit a month will receive a top-up payment every month from the state government until they reach 770 ringgit a month. Secondly, it is critical to ensure that all development is sustainable and environmentally friendly. Notwithstanding the fact that natural resources are dwindling, we must accept that our planet is already in the midst of an environmental crisis. Global warming has resulted in unpredictable weather patterns around the world. And of course, though we know that it may open up sea routes on the Arctic by shortening distances traveled by ships, but I'm sure we know when we face the severe storms, or when in the past it should be a dry weather, instead we have heavy rains and floods. I think this is an indication that as global warming spreads, we must expect wild climatic patterns that would not only affect our normal lives, but also, of course, economic growth in some countries. For this reason, Penang has made sustainability a commitment. In 2008, the Penang government adopted a cleaner, greener, safer and healthier Penang as a vision of the future we want to create for ourselves and the future generations. Among the efforts pioneered in Penang, Penang is the first state to ban the distribution of free plastic bags. In fact, we remain the only state where there is no distribution of free plastic bags at supermarkets. Now, following on our success of no free plastic bag campaign, we have also banned the use of polystyrene containers and packaging. identified and implemented no smoking zones, allotted every Sunday has no car days, and introduced a conservation water surcharge to limit waterways and save water. We are also proud in achieving the highest recycling rate in the country at 26%, far surpassing the country's targeted recycling rate of 20% by 2020. So as of this year, we have exceeded the target, the national target of 2020 of 20%, by achieving 26%. And we hope to achieve 40% recycling rate by 2020. Our efforts have been recognized by the ECA International as the most livable city in Malaysia and the 8th most livable city in Asia. Besides that, we have also been selected as the number 4 top place for retirement in the world, becoming the only Asian city in the top 8. On the question of the race, to get the most talents, human talents. Unfortunately for Malaysia and Penang, human talent has become our biggest export commodity. Over the years, many talented Malaysians and Penangites have left our shores for greener pastures. Maybe today is one of our efforts to try to get them to come back home. Now, coupled with the inability of our current system to provide replacements, we are in danger of falling permanently into the trap of a middle-income economy. Now, unless we can reverse the trend by not only producing more human talent, but also retaining existing ones and attracting new ones, it is difficult for Malaysia to escape the middle-income trap. We must focus like a laser on education. Not only must we train good workers, we must also train innovators and thinkers. That's the only way to ensure that we are able to provide the required knowledge workers that will be the bedrock of a new knowledge economy. Penang has established the Penang Science Cluster and also the Penang Science Council to try to leverage on Penang's position as one of the most dynamic electronic and electrical clusters in the world, to leverage on existing talent, existing technology, to rekindle interest in science and technology amongst the young, as well as attract new ones to do their R&D in Penang. And the Penang Tech Center, a bold and ambitious initiative by the Penang State Government to provide a showcase of the existing technology in Penang, a permanent showcase modeled after the San Jose Tech Center, will, we hope, be able to attract the best and brightest amongst the young to consider staying back or relocating. We have also taken steps to make Penang the first state to provide free Wi-Fi in all public places throughout the state. There are now 1,550 free Wi-Fi hotspots, and we hope to double that over the next 5 years. We have also set up more learning and training centers in the education hub in Balik Pulau on the island. And we are proud that we have succeeded in attracting the Asian Women's Leadership University, a liberal arts institution driven by Smith College, concede that a livable city is increasingly important. For the young people nowadays, they do not choose the company they wish to work with. They choose first the city they wish to live in. Then only they choose the company they wish to work in. And that is why it is important for Penang to provide not only a highly livable living environment, in terms of hard infrastructure, but also equally important, soft infrastructure. For this reason, we have started many arts and cultural programs, including the internationally acclaimed Georgetown Heritage Festival, which we hope you will enjoy and experience for yourself this evening. At the same time, I also believe that there must be a conscious policies to attract talent. And I hope that the federal government can consider imposing a flat personal income tax of 15% for critical professional requirements throughout Malaysia and not just in the Iskandar region. Fourthly, a society can only progress if it is democratically empowered. In Penang, we honor the spirit of democracy by ensuring not only freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of dissent, freedom of creativity and innovation. And to further ensure that the people are as empowered as possible, we are attempting to return democracy at the grassroots by restoring local council elections. Finally, last but not least, a most vital aspect of ensuring equitable growth and prosperity is good and clean governance. Multiple financial crises throughout the world, including the 1997 Asian financial crisis and the United States subprime mortgage crisis, have demonstrated the importance of good governance and sound economic policies. During times of economic stress, those with the weakest institutions will be the most vulnerable, and has been proven rentier economies and crony capitalism are a toxic mix that renders economies vulnerable to distortions that will ultimately cause its collapse. It is for this reason that the Penang State Government, upon taking power in 2008, quickly embarked on a system of governance based on the principles of CAP, competency, accountability and transparency. Through CAP, we have become the first state to implement open competitive tenders for all public procurements and supplies. In addition, we have passed the Freedom of Information Enactment, making government contracts publicly available for public scrutiny. We have also become the first state in Malaysia to have the entire state cabinet, including the Chief Minister, to make a public declaration of assets. And we have extended this public declaration of assets to all elected state representatives. As a result of these efforts to combat corruption, we have been able to stem wastage and, of course, pilfering of funds. This has translated into surplus budgets every year since 2008, resulting in a surplus of 138 million last year, which is the largest surplus ever recorded in Penang's history. We have also succeeded at the same time in reducing the state debts by 95%, which is of course another record in Malaysia's history. And at the same time increase our state assets by 50% over the last 5 years. But even more importantly, as a result of CAP governance, Penang has managed to achieve a record of becoming the #1 investment destination for the country in 2010 and 2011. And this was an achievement that was never done before. Ladies and gentlemen, it may be true that the current global economic trends appear to favor an Asian revival, in particularly East Asia, what with the prospect of a single Southeast Asian market in offering. However, it is imperative that we take cognizance of the challenges that abound. In addition to ensuring our economies are dynamic, resilient, and capable of adapting to the volatile global environment, we must also be mindful of the need for solid fundamentals. Without strong foundations, any economic success achieved will only be transient. As such, Penang has taken steps to focus on 5 key objectives in the years to come. Number 1, address inequality by wiping out poverty. Number 2, implementing green policies to achieve environmental sustainability. Thirdly, developing, attracting and retaining the required human capital in order to compete globally. Fourthly, empowering the people through democratic processes. And fifthly, fighting corruption and cronyism through good and clean governance. We believe that these are the 5 fundamental areas that need to be addressed, not only for Penang, but for any state, country or region in East Asia, especially in the face of unpredictable challenges in this new economic order. Of course, this is premised on the fact that we must enjoy stability and public order. In this respect, Penang has one, if not the safest state in Malaysia, has much to offer, because we believe that even if we achieve the 5 goals of transforming Penang into an international and intelligent city, what is most important is whether the people, the investors, and even the tourists who visit Penang can do so with dignity. This is the final objective of Penang, to allow not only the residents, but those who come here to live with dignity. Thank you very much.
We will compliment you, because I think Penang best asset is still our wind power, and that has always been the underlying, or it has always underpinned our economic growth and expansion over the last 225 years. We have no natural resources, I think we realize that, but what we offer is expertise, our energy, our entrepreneurship. I think these are locally available assets that I think we can contribute towards whatever physical infrastructure that we put up in other parts of Malaysia. And then I think we are also probably experimenting a new model, a model that is completely at various the developmental model offered for the last 56 years, where it is based on international norms, transparency, accountability, good governance, open competitive tenders, and of course, rule of law. I think this is something that you will definitely find, you feel very comfortable about as an international, multinational corporation, or as a foreign expatriate. You find yourself very comfortable with it, because this is the international everywhere, which we may not necessarily find in other parts of Malaysia. I think we are offering that differentiation.
May I add to your statement, Mr. Chief Minister? Of course, we are complimentary. What is the likely outcome when done, things have settled? Iskandar is likely to become the Discovery Bay of Hong Kong, and Penang the Shenzhen of Hong Kong. That is a natural allocation because of the proximity of closer proximity of Iskandar. That would be where a lot of the upper middle class would find better accommodations. But when it comes to production, distribution, finance, Penang has the natural advantages. Not to say it would necessarily emerge that way, but if you continue stressing on the new aspects that are being emphasized in Penang, like good governance, improvements in livability, and the retention of brain power, we would emerge to be the Shenzhen. So it's a win-win for Iskandar and for Penang.
I think we have seen encouraging results over the last few years. This conference is also a testimony to that we won't find people, even Penangites, interested in coming for a conference in Penang in the past. They are interested, and I think many of them actually brought properties and are thinking of coming back to Penang. Very serious options. But I think we are not only looking at our locally born and bred talents. We are looking at trying to cast the net wider. Because when you talk about relying on brain power or relying on human resources, you must not just make a city livable and attractive to the locally born and bred ones, but to foreign talents. It's just not only about retaining, but you must also attract new ones. I think that is the challenge. So we are trying to make Penang as an alternative even to Singaporeans, even those from Hong Kong, those locally born Singaporeans. And then you find that there are quite a number of Singaporeans in Penang nowadays. And also from the other regions in Indonesia, in Hong Kong, and even from India. What we're trying to do is try to accelerate that. Now, I think for many Singaporeans, when they come to Penang, they see the old Singapore in Georgetown, and that is very attractive. No, I would not dare to teach anybody. We are still trying to learn from the successful models. And I do not think that that would be too presumptuous, probably. But as I said, what we want is to probably adopt a more eclectic approach, trying to take the best from all the different successful models available. Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, even from India, they're very successful in software. So I think these are models that we want to learn from. And as I said, again, that is a premise on the fact that we have available and accessible human talent. So many people don't realize that we have, in terms of density, one of the largest concentration of engineers in Malaysia. We have more than 30,000 engineers in Penang alone. And we are looking at least how many? 20, 25, 30% of Malaysia's engineers are concentrated in the second smallest state in the country. 30%. That's a huge number. That is, if we can leverage that, as I said, I think that opens up tremendous opportunities. They always say that success breeds success. You have engineers, you tend to attract more engineers to come. So we hope to achieve that critical mass. I would really, if possible, maybe suggest a visit to Intel. They're one of the most advanced plants in the world. Nobody knows it. I think that can be arranged just to have a visit to Intel. I'm sure they'll be interested in following up. But I think that is something that will be very instructive. Not just Intel, Honeywell, all the top MNCs that in Japan, including of course Singaporean companies like SAM that does aerospace. Okay.